Good news for small business. You will reach millions of viewers 24/7 anytime, anywhere, locally and internationally.
Tell the world who you are, what you do and where you are.
In just one click,
we will produce your video and host it on BizLive Web. Let's get started today.
Vishen Pillay is currently the president of the TFG Youth Forum. He's a graduate of psychology and has completed his internship in this field. Currently, he's a project accounts executive for Kelly Group. His main focus for the Tamil community is to change the current ways of thinking so as to incorporate the youth in the sustaining of our rich Tamil language and culture for future generations.
பெரியோர்களே தாய்மார்களே உற்றார் உறவுகளே நண்பர்களே என்னுடன் கனிந்த வணக்கம். Good afternoon, Program Director, respected elders, ladies and gentlemen. This afternoon I have been tasked with the honor of presenting a paper on the importance of solidarity leading to the unification of our Tamil people through beliefs amongst the Tamil community. Whilst this is no easy task, I would like to highlight at the onset that the opinions expressed in this paper are purely from my knowledge gained through not only working closely with the Tamil youth of Gauteng for the past 6 years, but also from research into the Tamil literary works, as well as the rites and rituals carried out in Gauteng by the Tamil community. I do hope that I do not offend any of you present here today, even though some of my hypotheses may challenge your own beliefs and trains of thought. Being a curious and ever-questioning young man, raised as a fourth-generation Tamilian in South Africa, I have a need to question and often interrogate the beliefs and rituals of our Tamil community. During my studies towards obtaining my bachelor's degree in psychology, I encountered a subject called anthropology. Anthropology being the study of everything pertaining to Homo sapiens, more commonly known as humans. This includes their appearance, the way they act, speak, behave, and as well as their belief systems. During my second year of studying, I was tasked with 2 assignments, one being a paper on who I am and where I came from, and the other being a comparative thesis on what defines religion. At the start of the semester, I had no idea that these 2 assignments would be the turning point in my young life as I ventured forth with a tabula rasa, or blank slate upon which I would redefine my heritage and belief system. Whilst completing the first assignment, I came to realize that my ancestors had belonged to a clan of cattle herders in India. They lived in a village called Mayavaram in the south of India, and as a result, they carried forth their Dravidian roots to my generation. But what did this mean for me? It meant that I had taken over the belief system of a village which I had no living connection with, the thought of which scared me. How was it possible for me to believe in a way of life which was not applicable to my current conditions in terms of the deities I worshipped, the foods which I ate, and the language, Tamil, which was told to be my mother tongue? Surely these notions should have changed as my forefathers journeyed to new shores and their social status increased as they created new lives for themselves here in South Africa. The second assignment, which made me compare my religion with another in order to establish the similarities and differences, allowed me to expand my knowledge on the rites and rituals which I have only ever known. For the first time in my life, I was exposed to the ancient scriptures of Hinduism, and in turn the Thirukkural, which was considered to be the holy Bible of the South Indian Dravidian Tamil people. As I fervently researched for the assigned comparative thesis, I realized many interesting notions about the ways in which I have worshipped my gods. My first realization was that Hinduism, or Sanatana Dharma, is not a religion, but rather a way of life which has no beginning nor end. Suddenly, my world was turned upside down. I was taught in school that I was a Hindu. I celebrated Hindu festivals and went to a temple to worship my god. This was the way of a Hindu. And now, unlike my friends who believed in Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and Buddhism, my religion was not actually a religion, but rather a way of life. I was forced into a vortex within which I began to question why nobody had ever told me this before. At that moment, I had to make a conscious, mature decision as to whether or not to accept this notion as fact or fiction and decide what path to follow moving forward. After endless efforts to convince myself that my research was invalid, I decided to follow my heart and investigate further. My first quest was to establish the true definition of religion. Religion is defined as a method of thought that is meant to give meaning to man's life by putting him in communion with higher powers through stories, rituals, and beliefs. Hinduism encompasses all of these. So it is then a religion. I then came across literary works in which other authors had described Hinduism as a cult. My next quest was then to establish what defines a cult. A cult, in its traditional definition, is a new religious movement that has limited numbers of followers and whose practices may or may not be mysterious and possibly unsavory. Hinduism has a large number of followers. However, the membership is limited, and many practices are viewed as mysterious and possibly unsavory. So I could possibly belong to a cult as well. And then, when I thought that my life as a Hindu was about to end, I read a book entitled Am I a Hindu? By Eka Kandil Viswanathan, which stated that Hinduism is a henotheistic religion which recognizes a single deity but does not deny the existence of other gods and goddesses as facets or manifestations or aspects of that supreme God. So in essence, all Hindus believe in one God, but also believe that no matter what form one views God in and worships this God, there will still only be one supreme God. So then Hinduism is a religion. Further to this, I found the history about how Hindus received the title Hindus. Apart from the mythological stories which indicate that Hinduism started immediately after the last ice age, approximately 7,000 years before Christ, theologians believe that Hinduism began in the 3rd millennium BC. According to this theory, nomad tribes of European descent came to India and settled on the banks of the Indus, Ganges, and Brahmaputra rivers. These tribes were called the Aryans. After they settled, they were called the Indus people, from the Greek meaning of people who lived off the river. Later, their beliefs and thinking process, which in turn affected their ritual practices, became known as Hinduism. This was a nomadic people, and as they moved, their needs changed. This in turn made their beliefs change, and as a result, these Indus, or Hindu people, began worshipping in different ways, viewing different deities as their idea of God, and as a result, the 6 primary schools of Hinduism were founded. Ganapatyam, the worship of Ganesha; Saivism, the worship of Lord Shiva; Vaishnavism, worship of Lord Vishnu; Shauram, worship of the sun; Shaktam, the worship of Mother Shakti; and Kaumaram, worship of Kumara or Muruga. Finally, I had realized that my religion was in fact a religion. But then I needed to establish which primary school of Hinduism do I belong to. I needed to know who my Kula Devam or house god was. Again, I was at a blank. I worshipped almost all of the deities of the 6 primary schools. Naturally, my first instinct was to ask my parents, both of whom are 3rd generation Tamilians. Upon asking them, their response was, "What are you talking about?" I further questioned them as to which deity their family worshipped as a main deity. From my mother's side, it was Muruga and Shakti, and from my father's side, it was Muruga, which would make me a Murugan Bhakti. This was becoming much easier now. My journey of self-realization was almost complete. I continued in my research and found that Murugan Bhaktis worship Lord Muruga. They carry kavadis to show their love and devotion to him. And yet, I could never for the life of me remember religiously attending this prayer, which was supposed to be a hereditary tradition. In fact, I only vaguely remembered attending any major prayer. My fondest memories of worship as a child were singing at ceremonies with my grandfather, but those were always songs in praise of Lord Shiva from the Devaram. Further to that, I had remembered attending porridge prayers as a child. Further research taught me that this prayer was to appease Mother Shakti in her form of Mariamma. But my family also observed the month of Purtasi and conducted the rituals in praise of Lord Vishnu. To confuse me even more, we worshipped Lord Ganesha at all these prayers and even had an idol of him in our prayer area. So it was possible that I could be a mix between a Sivan, Shakti, Vishnu, Ganapati and Murugan Bhaktan. So this would bring me into the fold of 5 of the 6 primary schools of Hinduism. Having now completed my assignment, I realized that there were too many inconsistencies in my beliefs. Again, I was left to decide whether or not to continue practicing religion as a Sivan, Shakti, Vishnu, Ganapati, Murugan Bhaktan, or to continue in my quest for answers. The answer was clear. I spoke to my friends and arranged to attend the most common festivals in praise of the 5 deities which I worship. I would make notes on what was similar between these and from there find a way forward. Firstly, all these festivals included idol worship of some kind. Secondly, they all followed particular rituals and the recitation of various chants or mantras. Thirdly, all these festivals were preceded by a fast, usually 10 days long, and culminated in a physical, spiritual, and mental rejuvenation as I communicated for the first real time with my gods. What surprised me the most, however, was that nature, the sun in particular, was given reverence in all these festivals. All the temples faced the direction of the rising sun. Shiva is believed to have let rays of light as bright as the sun shine through his third eye and destroy evil. Shakti and Murugan Bhaktans wear yellow during festivals, which are representative of the sun. Vishnu is depicted with the sun in his hand, and Ganapati is worshipped before any other deity, in the same way that Shauram Bhaktans worship the sun before carrying out their daily activities. So technically, I was now a Shauram Bhaktan as well. I officially belonged to the 6 primary schools of the ancient Indus people. Never before had I experienced such elation at finally realizing that I was a Tamil in the true sense of the word. I had transcended all the boundaries which have been created over generations, and having understood and questioned my beliefs, I was able to give meaning to my life, as I was in communion with the Supreme God, by not only worshipping a single deity, but the 6 main manifestations of that Supreme God. Today, 4 years since my journey of self-realization, I look back at the assignments which I had no option but to complete in my pursuit to embark on a professional career, and I realized that if we are not forced to open our minds to that which challenges us, we could possibly follow blindly the paths which have been set by our forefathers, and we will eventually lead a life of denial. I urge each of you to think of our Tamil community as a family, just like Shiva, Shakti, Ganapati and Muruga. Irrespective of their differences, they are still united by blood and kinship. For as we choose the path of devotion, knowledge and duty become imperative. I'd like to leave you with a quote, which says, "The endeavor of religion is to get rid of the gulf between man and God and restore the lost sense of unity." Mikka nandri, vanakkam.
Good news for small business. You will reach millions of viewers 24/7 anytime, anywhere, locally and internationally.
Tell the world who you are, what you do, and where you are.
In just one click,
We will produce your video and host it on BizLive Web. Let's get started today.